All right. So sorry about the beginning there, a little technical difficulties, but thank you all for tuning in today on episode 14 of Limitless Healing. So today we're going to be talking about something that I came up with yesterday called the Enlightenment. Now it has nothing to do with the 17th or the 18th century or anything like that, but it has everything to do with being enlightened within yourself. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Dr. Jacques, Dr. Moser, whatever you want to call me here. And what I've been doing is diving in more and more into the spiritual realm of things. And the reason that I've been doing that is because I feel that there is a lot of valuable information in this. And so I dig and I dig and I dig. And so a lot of the problems and a lot of the symptoms and a lot of the diseases that come into my office have a lot to do with stress, blockages, emotional baggage, you name it. And what I've seen, and I'm kind of superimposing this knowledge onto what I already know, I can pretty much, because I know the person I'm working with, I know the emotional background, I'm seeing how it's manifesting into these disease processes or these disease symptoms or syndromes, whatever you want to call it. So today we're going to go over some of this stuff, and I'm really excited to do it because I'm only going to dabble into this. I'm not your guru on spiritual chakras, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's also why I'm having a special guest on Tuesday, December 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern to dive into this a little bit more, actually a lot of it more. So let's get into this. So what do we talk about when we talk about chakras? A lot of people think it's just this witchcraft, woo-woo stuff that, people may have thought of back in the day, or maybe it's a different religion, or if you're Catholic, you're like, I don't want anything to do with that. But it has a lot to do with what people suffer through. And you'll see as I go through some of these, each one of the chakras actually hold its own power to it. And if you have an overactive or an underactive chakra, then you're going to have symptoms. Just like really in the body, if you have a thyroid that is underactive, you're going to have symptoms. If you have a thyroid that's overactive, you're going to have symptoms. So it's pretty neat how you can kind of measure it between what is normal and what is abnormal, and then you want to rebalance it and kind of reconnect things from top to bottom, or I guess bottom to top, clear everything out. So let's dive into it. So what's the first chakra that we're going to talk about? So I did pull up a little graphic here. Not that one. There we go. Boom. All right. So go this way. All right. So we have the root chakra to start off with, okay? So the root chakra, what is that one going to have to deal with? So like I said, there are different symptoms that are associated with things, but this is stuff that is more diving into the realm of like your survivalist mentality, whether it's a financial thing or whether it's your hunter, your gatherer, your financial dependence. So think about that. I mean, even through COVID, there's been a lot of issues just with this mindset, just with this chakra by itself, because most people don't know what their financial outlook looks like, whether it's for the end of this year or going into this year. They don't know if they're going to be able to hold down that job that they have had for maybe 20, 30 years, or maybe just got started. So if we have that happening, we're going to have damage to our root chakra. We're going to have to breathe life into it and do certain things to be able to bring that back to normal. Now, the other thing that I thought was really cool is, for those of you who don't know, I have two kids. My son's just a little over 2. My daughter, she's like a month and a half. We count weeks. I don't remember exactly the weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. My wife will probably smack me on here. But we have 2 young ones. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was diving into the root chakra, it actually said that this one forms and kind of develops itself in between the ages of 1 and 7 years old. So think about that. So if you have kids right now, some young kids, you could be teaching them how to actually take care of themselves and take care of their financial independence and make sure you're building them towards health and success and wealth and success versus giving them that poverty or that limited mindset. So then rewinding this, okay? So if your kids are seeing you struggle in your financial situations or your financial day-to-days or you're pinching pennies, that's going to go into your kids' root chakra, and you're going to have to kind of dig that out, or they'll have to dig that out 20, 30, 40 years down the line. Trust me, I know this stuff. All right, again, I'm not your guru on it, but I've done enough research right now to be a little bit dangerous. So that's the first one that we talk about. The second one that we talk about is going to be the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is up a little bit higher than the root, and this is where we get our sense of abundance from. So it's our well-being, it's our pleasure, it's our sexuality. So a lot of women will have issues with this chakra because of whether it's past trauma that they've experienced, or, heaven forbid, they had any rape or anything like that when they were younger, when they were growing up, or any type of sexual shame. It will hold itself right there. Now, one of the crazy things, it's not really that crazy, but I loved hearing about it, is that this can actually manifest into other types of symptoms. So what does that mean? So hormonal changes, you can have things like endometriosis, you can have PMS symptoms, you can have all of these other, female problems that nobody has really dove into or analyzed before, and they could be coming from a past trauma. Pretty neat, right? And again, this kind of puts you back into the driver's seat when we're talking about correcting these things, because ultimately you can self-reflect on this and figure out the path to correction, which is pretty awesome. All right, moving up a little bit higher, we have the solar plexus. For those of you who need the graphic again, I'm going to pop it up there. There we go, trying to move out of the way. So right over there, we're going to have the solar plexus. So this is where we are going to be talking about your self-worth, self-confidence, your self-esteem. Again, going through COVID, your self-worth, self-esteem. A lot of people, whether it's through the bullying side of things or just through, social distancing, or anti-social distancing, we're no longer getting those connections. We're no longer feeling that feeling of significance. So what's that going to do? That's going to block that chakra from being able to work properly. So we can have other problems that come from that. So we can have high levels of stress. The other thing with the solar plexus that I work with all the dang time is going to be your adrenals and your digestive tract. All right, so solar plexus, there's some subconscious mind things where basically you think and you push it out, and once it pushes past your solar plexus, that thought becomes reality. So if we perceive stress from the outside, bring it in, we're going to push it back out to our bodies as just that, as stress. So again, our adrenals can start to get burnt out. That can have an impact on our hormones. That can have an impact on our digestive tract. We can have constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel. So we can see how a lot of these things, a lot of these maybe emotional traumas or traumas that we've had in the past can actually display themselves as something more severe because it's going to be blocking down that chakra. I'm doing the best I can with this, but again, I'm not the guru. You have to tune in on Tuesday to be able to dive into this a little bit more. I know Taylor will tell me if I'm wrong on these things, and I'm okay with that. All right, moving on up, we have the heart. So the heart center, think about that. We have, I think it's over 700,000 deaths due to heart disease every single year. Every single year. So if we have a broken or overactive, underactive heart chakra, that can also lead to heart problems. It can lead to problems with connection, love, compassion. All right, a lot of us, again, we don't have that love and compassion anymore, especially through this year, because we're taught to criticize or shame people who don't want to follow the herd and wear a mask, or don't want to follow the herd and just go ahead and get jabbed in the arm with the vaccine. We're being trained. This year has been like the year of hatred that is like never ending. So this is where we're going to have a problem here. Kids aren't used to going and giving people hugs unless they're our kids. I mean, Hoyt will go up to any stranger and give him a hug, say hi, and talk about Santa Claus. He doesn't care. I didn't train him. We allow him to express himself to his 100% fullest, and we sit back and we laugh to see other people's reactions if they get uncomfortable. But usually they love it because Hoyt's awesome, he's cute. Anyways, so the heart, you have to use compassion for yourself as well as for others, because if you don't love yourself first, you won't be able to pour out love to anybody else that's around you. That goes for relationships, that goes for friendships. So this is one that's quite often broken, is because we wall ourselves off and we isolate ourselves. We do so many things to kind of jab at our heart, and eventually what it's going to do is, just like if you're working out in the gym, it's just going to start to get more and more calloused, okay? So if our heart gets calloused, then we can start having, cardiomegaly. If we want to go technical, we can have our heart start to swell. We can have high blood pressure. We can have tachycardia, or too fast of a heartbeat, or we can have bradycardia, where it is too slow of a heartbeat. We can have heart arrhythmias. We can have all of these different things that manifest in our body due to this chakra. Pretty crazy, right? Now, for those of you who want to dive more into this, again, Tuesday is going to be the bomb. But there's books and stuff on this as well. You can look it up. You can look it up on Google when we're done. You can do it while you're on here. I appreciate it if you didn't, so that way you're focusing. But you can look all of these things up. It's not as woo-woo as you think it is. Trust me, I've seen this stuff in action. It's amazing. All right? And then we're going to go up to a chakra that I think is also, I would say this year, there has been a prevalence. Hey, Garrett, what's going on, man? There has been a prevalence of overactive throat chakras. Why do I say that? People are giving so much unsolicited advice to other people, yelling, screaming. They're vocalizing their opinions at way too high of a rate. Way too high. They're combative. They're not seeing things with compassion. They just want to yell, pass through, over, around. They just want to blast you with a sonic wave of garbage. And that's going to be coming from the throat chakra. And then some people, when they get approached by that, they just basically kind of wall off a little bit and they go underactive. They don't voice their concerns. They're afraid to voice their concerns because they don't want to get tongue lashing again. So a lot of people aren't used to speaking their truth. They're not used to being themselves, and they basically just keep pushing that version of themselves down deeper and deeper inside of their bodies until you basically don't even have a memory of what you wanted to be. So the throat chakra is really important to make sure we're verbalizing things that we want, things that we feel, things that concern us. And it does allow us to connect quite honestly, much better than I would say about 90% of the couples that are out there. This is something that Megan and I were very, very good on. We didn't used to be. I'm very good at expressing my emotions and my opinions. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and Megan was a little bit more walled off. And then she started opening back up, and then we can have that proper communication. So that way, if I do something that I know hurts her, then we can have a conversation on that. Versus before, if I did something and I had no idea, then we'd have to learn from that and be like, okay, so from now on, let's not do that. So it really opens up that dialogue to go back and forth between husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouses, whatever you want to call yourselves. And this goes for friends too. I mean, you can do this with friendships too. All right? Third eye. Third eye is a crazy one, especially there's a lot of stuff out there right now with where they're doing the temperature readings and they're throwing infrared and hitting your pituitary gland, hitting your third eye. I don't want to dive too much into that, but with the third eye, this is where you have your intuition, your imagination. If you tap into this, you can get some clairvoyance as well as what's going to happen, and it's all about manifesting. It's a pretty amazing one that when you open it up, it's pretty amazing. I remember doing this, I think it was back in chiropractic school. I did some meditation on it, opened it up, and it was awesome. But I've fallen out of the practice of it, so I got to get back to it. But it's something that, again, it will make a profound impact as you start meditating through these different chakras. So you're opening everything up and allowing things to flow up and through you and out to the top and vice versa. So you can get downloads from above. All right. The other thing, too, with the third eye is we talked about the pituitary gland. So this can have a whole bunch to do with your adrenals. Since it's your pituitary, you could talk about your hormones. So, again, your PMS, burnout, stress, cycles, a lot of that can have an impact coming from the pituitary gland. Again, being over or under reactive. Okay, if you think of an overactive pituitary gland, we think of acromegaly, where you have too much bone growth, too much growth hormone being produced. That can happen. Could be a chakra problem. And then we talk about the last one, which is going to be your crown chakra. So that's your inner and outer. It's basically your spiritual connection. I think of it like as an antenna on top of your head. Am I able to receive things from above down, inside out? If not, then I got to work on that crown chakra. This helps us, in order to help us, we need to go into social settings. We need to be connected. We need to go out into nature. We need to reconnect and really just stay in this state of awe, where we look around and we look at God's creations, or whatever you want to call its creations. We would say, this plant is absolutely beautiful. This flower is beautiful. This tree is amazing. I love this fresh air. And you stay in this state of just, wow, like I'm so blessed to be here kind of experience. And a lot of us, again, we are uncomfortable with that. Sometimes we're uncomfortable in silence as well, that if I did tell you to go out into the woods for 72 hours, you'd lose your mind or you'd be out of the woods in 72 seconds. So there's different ways that these chakras can kind of manifest symptoms and problems in our bodies. And again, I'm not the guru on this, but I am just giving you guys an idea of the direction that we're going to be going. So this one was a very easy, it was a very short live that we're doing today. But the reason that it's short, the reason that it's effective is because what we're going to be doing is on Tuesday, we're going to dive into this way more. Now, something that was very impactful is, I forget how long ago, it was like 2 months, 3 months ago. Megan could attest to it, but she started doing some of this work. And for those of you who follow my wife on social media, you can see that she's really blossomed into who she truly is, which I knew was in there. And she was able to fully open that stuff up again. And from that, I can tell when she's doing work on herself, she's doing that self-work. It makes a profound impact on her health, on her energy, on her body, how she is as a mother and as a wife. She's just an amazing human being. So if you want to know the ins and outs a little bit about what Megan did to help with her transformation and what I'm going to ultimately be talking about on Tuesday, then please mark your calendars this Tuesday, December 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So 7 p.m. Eastern on our Facebook channel. Okay? Please make sure you're on for that. It's going to be life-changing information. It's going to be a phenomenal interview with myself and then Taylor Simpson. And for those of you who haven't followed her on social media, her handle is I am Taylor Simpson. So go ahead and search her, friend her, follow her on her social media platforms, and then make sure you're back here on Tuesday. What time? 7 p.m. December 8th, 7 p.m. So that way we can dive into this topic much more, because she would be more your guru than myself. So for those of you who are tuned in today, thank you. For those of you watching this on replay, same thing goes for you. As long as it's not past Tuesday, tune in, and I'm going to be so excited to interview her. So take care, everybody.